Welcome back to another episode of the Ohio College Tech Prep Podcast. My name is Matt Cola, and I am from Kent State University out of the Northeast Ohio Tech Prep region. Today, we are going to be talking about middle grade education in CTE. So today, I am with Bill Dimascio from the Four Cities Compact. So, Bill, can you tell me about yourself, your job, and a little bit about the compact?
Sure, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. As Matt said, my name is Bill Dimascio. I'm the director of the Four Cities Compact. We're a compact of about 750 plus or minus students. We are just west of Akron in Barberton, Norton, Wadsworth, and Copley are the four districts we serve. The fiscal agent is Wadsworth, and that's where my offices are physically located, but we do a lot of moving around between the four schools. We have 21 programs in the four schools that we offer to students.
Thank you. So like I said, today we are focusing specifically on really an up-and-coming topic with that middle grade waiver potentially coming to an end. So I know the Compact does good work in that area, so can you explain to me the model that the Compact uses for its middle grade CTE programming?
I think talking about before I was here, too, I was a CTE coordinator in Lakewood for 11 years before I came to the Compact. I've been here a year and a half, almost 2 years now. This is my second year here. So I've had experience with middle school in both of those compacts. And so here we're working towards an ideal in middle school CTE. Some districts do it better than others, and some of our districts have made a strong commitment to it, and we're always looking to improve it. So, the resources that I use are my fellow directors and counterparts around the state. Always am sizing them up to see what they're doing for best practices. And then ODEW has a lot of resources that you can use on the site to build what I would call healthy middle school program. You can certainly just check the box and say you're offering it, but the key is to align it to your career pathways within your district and build it properly. I say the middle feeds the top.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. So what should a district consider as they begin planning that middle school programming?
Well, if you're not doing any middle school programming at this point, you should have heard from me in your district. I'm reaching out to those middle schools and communicating with them to try to understand what they're already offering, and if they're not offering anything, what they could offer. You must have an alignment to your career pathways in your district. So you can't really start anything in middle school that's going to be career tech related. There's not a pathway to finish it at the high school end of things. So it starts with communication as, what resources do you have in the middle schools? What are you already teaching there as electives? Are some of those electives you're offering, can they be maybe reimagined as career tech electives? And you're looking for an alignment of standards to those programs that they offer as VMs or middle school courses in the middle school. For example, I can talk about my previous district in Lakewood. We had Project Lead the Way, at the high school. We did not have any connection to Project Lead the Way in the middle schools. At that time, the superintendent of Lakewood schools wanted to have a middle school presence. So we enacted middle school Project Lead the Way to line up with our high school Project Lead the Way in the district. So that's just one example of alignment, but it doesn't have to be that way. I just met the other day with a middle school principal in our districts, and he has a PE class he thought could align to our sports and exercise science class at the high school level, and it could adapt that at the middle school level to become a CTE course. So you talk to him about those things and about the credentials that the teacher has and about middle school validation. They often want to know about that.
Can you actually expand on what credentials and what middle school validation is?
Yeah, I don't think you don't want to forget that family consumer sciences and CBI can also be middle school offerings. So if anybody in your middle school already has a CTE certification, they're qualified to teach middle school programming. But you can also take an existing teacher and ask them to do some modules on the learning management system within the OHID account, and they can become validated to teach middle school CTE. And in fact, in one of the districts here in the Four Cities, the district purchased Paxton Patterson, which is, I don't want to say canned, but it is a canned curriculum. It's a designed curriculum around many of the career field pathways, and it's hands-on. And the teachers that teach that at the middle school last year went and got the middle school validation so they could get that funding to flow behind that career exploration. That's a career connections course. Mm-hmm. So I think that's an important course to understand as well. I can talk a little bit about that if you want, Matt. Do you want to go in that direction right now?
Yeah, that would be great.
So just to recap for you, you either have to have a CTE license or you're going to get that middle school validation. Or if you are teaching Project Lead the Way, if you go through the Project Lead the Way training, that would qualify you as well to receive CTE funding for that and to teach middle school CTE. But that Career Connections course is a broad brush course. The only real requirement of that course is, besides the teacher licensure, is that you're touching on all 16 career field pathways in that course and doing some really healthy career exploration for middle schoolers there. And when I talk middle school CTE, I'm talking 7th and 8th grade. CTE funding does not go down to 6th grade. So it's 7th and 8th grade. If you go down to 6th grade, you can't receive funding there. I do have some schools that still run it because it's the best thing to do for kids.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about the best thing to do for kids, that takes me to my next question. How should the middle schools prepare students for their high school CTE pathway? And what should they consider if students decide, oh, I did this in middle school, and then they have no interest by the time they get to 11th grade?
That's a great question. The research shows that middle school is the most formative time that you can really impact a student's decision about a potential career pathway. You know, they haven't yet formed their total identity and their clique, so they're very impressionable about what they may or may not want to do. Mm-hmm. So we're very intentional to make sure we get some touch points in all 4 of our districts with middle school programming. And we also hold a reality day in 8th grade for each middle school. It's in conjunction with the Ohio State Ag Bureau. They come out and they have different stations. They get money and they get different life circumstances thrown at them. And they have to move between tables and navigate. Mm-hmm. There's financial help available for those who get into financial troubles. And then, you know, there's a police officer walking around issuing tickets and citations. Some districts may have heard of like reality checks. It's kind of that for middle schoolers. And the compact sponsors that. Mm-hmm. And so it's another talking point about career tech. We don't want the kids to show up in high school and say, well, what's the 4 cities and what are my options? So we try to be very intentional with touch points at 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and then 10th grade when they actually come out and we do a showcase and they're selecting their program. So I think career development, you know, spans throughout the child's educational career and touches down into the elementary schools and has very intentional touch points. So those students are doing some thinking about and intentional career planning before they get to high school.
Thank you. So how does the compact promote middle school CTE, or is that just something your students are required to do through the course of their education naturally?
It's an elective in middle school. I wouldn't say in each district every student takes those courses, but it's offered. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably an area we could probably do better in, Matt. I don't know if we do. We spend a lot of time promoting our high school offerings, but I don't think we spend very much time at all promoting our middle school. Besides, the classes are there, they're doing the exploration. But I would probably venture a guess if you ask those kids if they're involved in career tech in middle school, they probably couldn't answer that question. They would say, no, this is just a class. So that's something we need to work on. Mm-hmm.
That's great advice, though, for any district. Just if you're doing this, take stock of making sure, you know, we're using the language so the students know what we're teaching.
In my previous district as well, we would go into those middle school classes and talk about career tech. Mm-hmm. Now, Mrs. McGinnis, our career pathway counselor here in the 4 cities, does some of that as well. Mm-hmm. So there is that, but I don't know if they've recognized those courses as career tech per se. Sure. But we are down talking to each 8th grade class about reality day and the career options that are coming their way.
So it sounds like you're doing enough.
I think we're doing enough. I think it's an area, though, that we could always improve upon. It's nice to have the career awareness dollars that we use for a lot of these initiatives. But I think one of our goals in the compact is to make sure that our career development is robust and healthy and really helps students determine what they want to do in their future.
Last question, and it's sort of the same question I ask any guest I have on the show. Is there anything else that you think our listeners should know about middle school CTE stuff that I didn't ask you about?
That's a good question. I think it's important to, work with the principals and the counselors and the teachers at those middle schools. I would include one other person on this, the EMIS coordinators. As the compact director, they rely on me to make sure that those courses are set up in your school information system correctly. and they have the proper, you're using the proper curriculum codes, you're using proper EMIS course codes, and the hours are proper because there's limits on the hours you can do. So you want to make sure that you're working with those teams of people at the middle schools to make sure those things all align. You have to have a valid CTE 26 on file. That's kind of where it starts. So if you don't have that 26 on file, and that's something that your CTPT director will take care of for you, you're not going to be able to start a program. So there's got to be strong communication, filing of those initial documents, and then follow through to make sure that they're coding those courses properly.
And, just to clarify, to name it, like we were saying earlier, if that doesn't happen, then funding doesn't come through, correct?
Yeah, and funding isn't everything, but it's nice, right?
Exactly.
Those courses can cost a little bit more if you're buying some consumables and doing some things to enhance the curriculum, and they're funded at the same rate as a high school program that's a workforce development program. So obviously it's pennies on the dollar because you're not seeing the kids for as big a chunk of time. I think it's more important to do it and do it correctly, but you want that money to wrap around and flow. That's why the state's made it available to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Bill. I really appreciated having you on the podcast and learning a little bit more about middle school CTE from you. Anything else?
Yeah, reach out to others that you know if you're not sure how to do this. There's a huge expansion in the middle school right now, with the governor's initiative to maybe get rid of that waiver. So there's a lot of opportunity here to enact and be creative and maybe change some of your middle school courses over to CTE, get some additional funding. But again, reach out to your compact or CTPT director. Go to the ODEW website, look at those resources there, and I think it'll lead you in the right direction.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you all for listening, and I really hope you will join us next month for our next episode of the Ohio College Tech Prep Podcast. As usual, if you enjoyed listening, please leave us a rating or review on the podcast service of choice that you use. Have a wonderful month.